All right, Yahoo Fantasy Baseball 2010, Week 5. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Metropolitans versus Koufax's Revenge. The Tucson Toros group has a real dogfight in the middle of the standings, and these two teams are right in the middle of it. Looks like the way things shook out, though, Metropolitans picked up the win 6-4 by week's end. Mets moves to 24, 24, and 2, right at 500. In the middle of the standings, while Koufax's Revenge slips under 500 at 22, 25, and 3. Mets is now 2-1 all time versus Koufax. Those teams have met 3 times now in regular season play, with Mets picking up 2 wins. Close battle though in 5 categories, so it definitely was not a blowout by any means. Koufax definitely kept things interesting. Just things didn't quite shake out that team's way by week's end. Mets tied season highs in RBIs, while also had a season low as far as stolen bases output production was concerned. Also tied season lows in wins, while had a season high in saves. So an up and down week production-wise. Still managed to shake out a 6-4 victory. Koufax's Revenge had a win in stolen bases, despite the lowest total of the season. And the lowest average of the year, lowest batting average of the year for Koufax's Revenge, too. Most wins in a week all year for Koufax. 4th straight week without a save. So both these teams kind of have stats indicative of not setting the lineup. I know I harp on this every week with some of these teams, but not setting the lineup is going to give you wishy-washy returns every week. We see with Mets, highs and lows in some categories kind of cancel each other out, while Koufax, same thing. Now, 6-4 was the final score here, but that's a very tight battle. As I said, 5 categories were really close. Had either team made any changes to the lineup, things could have been a lot different. Also, taking a look at how things actually broke down here, Mets actually took 3 of 5 in hitting and pitching. So picking up wins on both sides of the plate there, definitely important to taking on other teams down the road. Mets used A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez, for 7 runs and 5 RBIs. Also had a .368 average for the week. So great week out of A-Rod there. Bad week for Pablo Sandoval, Jason Bay, and Jeff Francoeur. Those 3 guys look to be kind of role players on this team. Sandoval's actually looked to kind of be a leader as far as statistics go for Mets, and not really producing this week. Andrew McCutchen had some interesting stats. McCutchen, of course, known for tons of stolen bases, and also has a little bit of power to his bat, but hits at the top of the lineup in a bad Pittsburgh team, bad Pittsburgh lineup. McCutchen hit .625 this week and had 5 runs, but didn't have a single stolen base. That's a player that Mets definitely relies on as far as trying to win that stolen bases category. Didn't get any production there. Koufax had an unusual output as well. Took home runs and stolen bases. Those 2 things don't usually go together unless you're dominating offense and win multiple categories. Koufax only won 2 offensive categories, homers and stolen bases. Very unusual. The Flying Hawaiian Shane Victorino definitely came through for Koufax. Contributed at least a little bit in all 5 categories, while Carlos Gonzalez continues to be great. 8 RBIs, but no homers out of Carlos Gonzalez. Bad week for average, though. 4 players hit under 200. Only 2 hit over 300 for Koufax. So that team definitely struggled at the plate. Sean Figgins, it's not Chone, Sean Figgins, hit .091 for the week, had no runs, no RBIs. That guy's really struggling. Koufax did dominate on pitching, though, as far as wins goes. 5 pitchers won a game, 3 wins from the Blue Jays bullpen. Very unusual source of wins, much like we talked about in one of the other matchups where the Nationals reliever Tyler Clippard picked up 3 wins in 4 days. Another unusual stat, the Blue Jays bullpen picked up 3 wins in a week, and 3 of those wins went straight to Koufax's Revenge. Roy Halladay and Aaron Harang, both excellent weeks. They were on the ball, contributed to Koufax, kept things interesting. Mets used a reliever-heavy staff to kind of undercut Koufax's performance. Again, not setting the lineup. Here's one of the things that's going to happen. Mets didn't really use a whole lot of pitchers. With a reliever-heavy staff, that means not a lot of innings. But if the players play well, that's going to undercut anybody as far as WHIP and ERA go. If you don't put a lot of innings out there, there's not a lot of chances to blow up and inflate your ERA or your WHIP, and that's exactly what Mets did. Fewer innings undercutted Koufax's overall decent performance in pitching. 3 saves from Andrew Bailey, the A's closer, looking good, definitely out west. Looking forward, though, the Mets is now 8th in the standings, 2.5 games out of 6. Remember, top 6 make the playoffs, so that's very important. Still in touch with those leaders. Gets Grassy Knoll next week. Mets has never actually beaten Grassy Knoll. 0-1-1 last year against Grassy Knoll. So that's going to be interesting to see if maybe Mets can pick up the first win ever against that team. While Koufax's Revenge now sits 11th. Both these teams still very much in the dogfight in the middle of the standings. Koufax is only 4 games out of the playoffs still, so definitely hanging in there. Just trying not to get beat up too much with that pile up in the middle of the standings. Gets twice as nice next week, though. Twice as nice. Definitely one of the more dominant teams in the league. Was dominant last year, made it all the way to the finals. Second place in the standings right now. Koufax went 0-2 against this team last year, so definitely going to try to turn things around, maybe surprise some people, pick up a win. It'll be interesting to see how things shake out.